Well, you're looking now at the U.S. Congress, where an impasse over the federal budget means most of the government will shut down Tuesday. The back and forth over the budget bill has been acrimonious, with the president coming out late this afternoon to scold those holding it up, saying they're putting the U.S. economy at risk, which of course has implications for the world. Our senior Washington correspondent, Neil McDonald, has the latest for us. Neil.
Well, Peter, Americans are about to find out how much they truly depend on their federal government. And Republicans are about to discover the extent of the public's tolerance for far-right ideology. As midnight approached, the biggest employer in the United States prepared to shut down all but essential services. Nearly 1 million public servants on unpaid furlough, with all the attendant consequences for a recovering economy. On Capitol Hill, the hardline Republicans who have blocked their own party's attempts to climb down were proclaiming that Barack Obama is now responsible for what's going to happen.
The president will negotiate with the Iranians. The president will negotiate with the Russians about Syria. Aren't Americans as important as Syrians, Russians, and Iranians?
The hardliners, all members of the so-called Tea Party caucus, say they will allow government to keep operating only if Obama agrees to kill his own health care law. Here was the top Senate Democrats' answer to that.
We are not going to mess around with Obamacare, no matter what they do.
The irony in all this, if you can call it that, is that shutting down the government will not shut down Obamacare. It is funded and protected as an essential service.
You don't get to extract a ransom for doing your job.
Late today, the president spelled out to Americans what the shutdown will mean to them, and he reminded Republicans they campaigned against Obamacare in last year's election, and they lost.
One faction of one party in one House of Congress, in one branch of government, doesn't get to shut down the entire government just to refight the results of an election.
In reality, though, they get to do exactly that, and they're dragging a reluctant party establishment along with them, like lemmings in suicide vests, said one non-Tea Party Republican lawmaker today. This could get a lot worse. In about 2 weeks, the U.S. Treasury will be unable to keep paying America's debts without borrowing more money. The Tea Partiers say that if their demands aren't met, they'll be willing to force a government default. And if a shutdown is bad, a default would be catastrophic. It could provoke another recession. But that's the mathematics of Congress, Peter. 40-odd Tea Partiers could actually threaten the global financial system.
Neil McDonald in Washington tonight. Thanks, Neil. Finance Minister Jim Flaherty issued a statement about the potential effect of a U.S. government shutdown on Canada. This is a reminder, he wrote, that while Canada's economy remains strong, we are still vulnerable to uncertainties outside of our borders, especially in the U.S. and Europe. Flaherty said, along with a resolution to the current impasse, he hopes Washington will develop a plan that will put the U.S. fiscal position on a long-run, sustainable path.
Hi everybody, this is Mick Bernard back with another credit tip of the week. You know, people call me all the time and want to talk about collections because collections, open collections, especially with balances, can weigh down your credit score. And so here's what I say about that. Be careful when you're paying off a collection, because when you pay off a collection, it sometimes updates the date of last activity on your credit report, redates that account, which means it could stay on your report for 7 more years, and you really don't want that to happen. And so when you're negotiating to pay a collection, I always encourage you to contact your collector. Do not just send in a check or make your payment because you received a letter in the mail, because you want to convince them to remove it from your credit report. Paying a collection will not make your score go up. In fact, it might make your score go down. So when you're paying those off, make sure you're getting the maximum bang for your buck, and that is make that collection company remove it altogether. If you're unable to do that, we're masters at that. Please contact us. We'll be happy to assist you with those items. As always, this is Mick Bernard. I'll be back next week with another credit tip.
Why is there so much debt? 10 years before the financial crisis started, individuals and families in the UK had a total of £480 billion of debt. Since then, our debt has more than doubled. But who did we borrow all this money from? Was it from an army of grannies who have spent their whole lives putting money away for a rainy day? No. When you go into a bank and borrow a large amount of money to buy a small amount of house, that money doesn't come from somebody else's savings. It's just created out of nothing by the bank with a few taps on a computer keyboard. Sounds crazy, right? But this isn't some crime of the century. It's just the way the banks work. Here's how the Bank of England describes it. When banks make loans, they create additional deposits for those that have borrowed the money. Those additional deposits are just the numbers that appear in your account, which you can use to pay for your new house. In fact, around 97% of all the money that exists is created in this way, out of nothing, when banks make loans. Every loan they make creates brand new money in the economy, whether it's a personal loan, car finance, or mortgage. Now, here's the problem. If almost all the money we use is created by banks when they make the loans, then for every pound of money, there has to be a pound of debt. If we want more money in the economy, we have to go further into debt to the banks, because more borrowing from banks means more new money is created. But the process happens in reverse when we repay loans. When we pay down our debts, the money effectively disappears. This makes it impossible for all of us to reduce our debts. If we start paying it off, then the amount of money in the economy shrinks. Less money in the economy means less spending, and less spending means fewer jobs. So there's the choice. We can have either more money and more debt, or we can have less debt and less money. When the only way to get money into the economy is to borrow it from the banks that create it, then we'll always be trapped under a mountain of debt. But it doesn't have to be this way. If we took the power to create money away from banks, and instead have money created by a public institution that isn't chasing short-term profits, then this new money, as it supports jobs and the economy, could be used to pay down the debt. And we could finally start to clear this mountain.